Also coming out with some technologies now. You know, leaves are the first photovoltaic cells, so
Yeah.
through the process of biomimicry, they're creating solar panel leaves. So any of those forests that you saw, they could also be solar forests. They could dual as kind of scenery and also either filtering out the carbon dioxide and manually turning it to oxygen, or producing oxygen and also collecting and converting solar energy into electricity.
You can do that with so much now.
With leaves, yeah.
So you start off with that, and then you do the solar-powered glass, which can be on every single building.
Exactly, yeah, photovoltaic. And actually, what we're looking into is, you see how the building material she was using was primarily concrete and steel?
Yep.
Well, there's different various levels of carbon fiber material that you can use that can dual as a photovoltaic cell or a group of photovoltaic cells. And you can also control, they can be totally transparent, and you can control the opacity about how much light you let in.
Yeah.
So in all theory, your entire house you can see through all angles of your entire house out into the world. And no one can look inside.
I have one pecan. And they're pretty vicious. You usually see gators without a foot, without a tail. And it's really interesting because they do get pretty bloody and they're in bacterial infested areas, but they survive. So
Yeah,
gators.
You stay back.
But we have fox and deer and all sorts of wild birds. Bird watching.
Take the petal out and let it flower, the better mentally.
They may be waiting in there. You guys see that?
I just saw a ripple.
Oh yeah.
And most of the alligator and the otter swam in it, which was kind of nice to see. It was interesting to see gators swim. But now we're raising tilapia in here to eat the duckweed, and I'll show you the duckweed that are on most of the ponds. We also put little shiners to eat the mosquitoes, so the lava. There's lots of things we could do without putting poison things. It is. Yeah, people eat tilapia too, but they eat the duck. I'll show you the duckweed. It's a plant growth that grows on top of the lakes, and they put poisons on them in Florida, and you can just put the fish in there and they eat it.
Well, that's much more natural, isn't it?
Yeah. I use kind of smell So if we come here, I'll walk around and describe this, all the models to you. So let me just pull that door. I'm having trouble with that door. So anyway, if you know much about Jacque, he's a multidisciplinarian, which means he worked in a lot of different fields. He didn't go to school for any of them. He quit school when he was about 13. And if he went to school, he really started with aircraft when he was 13. He was fascinated with aircraft. Did literally hundreds of different models. And it was interesting because he talks about how to educate kids. And if you get kids past a certain stage when they can see the improvement themselves and what they're doing, you don't know to pat them on the back. And a lot of times they want recognition from other kids, and usually other kids are really cruel to one another. Like Jacque did an airplane that was very, very different, and he took it to a model airplane club when he was really small. This is when airplanes first started. Nobody even saw airplanes mostly. And the other kids harassed him because it was so unusual. And they said, "Oh, what is that?" Instead of saying, "What are the characteristics that make it fly? Does it fly?" They don't ask that. They just ostracize him. But Jacque didn't feel bad because he knew how much he learned by all the different things he tried. And that's where you need to get kids, so they don't need approval of others. And they can take things and experiment themselves. So that's where Jacque came up with a lot of his learning theories too. And he tested them out. He tested them out on the clan to change the clan. That's why he did all that. And he tested them out with drug addicts, alcoholics, he went to some of the worst kids in New York City. They called it was a juvenile home. I forgot what the name of it was. But anyway, and he changed them. You know, they said that they wouldn't be changed. They were into guns and into violence, and he changed them. It's a really interesting story. If you ask him about it, it's too long, so I'm not going to go into it now, but it really is a fascinating story. And so Jacque didn't want to just talk about the future. He backed it up technically, what it could be like. And so when we moved here, it was before computer animation. So he wanted to do videos and show kids and people an alternative for the future and show it technically how we could solve our problems. And that's what people would be doing in the future, working on the problems that are common to everybody, not working on, today what we're doing is killing other people over scarce resources and different values. And we should be, in the future, we'll be working together on solving problems that are common to all of us. We all have cystic fibrosis, heart disease, you know, blindness, whatever, we can all do that. So those are the real problems, how to house people, clothe people, low-cost energy, efficient, clean energy. We're not working on that. You know, it's so stupid. It's just unbelievably stupid. But anyway, so this was an alternative where you bring the salt water into places like the United States or Africa every 40, 50 miles. And this is an automated system. Jacque was doing automated systems a long time ago before they even came about having them so much. And this would drop. This would be evaporative condensation, so you can get clean drinking water. And he felt that you could make buildings in dry dock, just like you make boats in dry dock. You pull out the water, you make the boat, and then you put the water back in and pull it wherever you're going. Well, he felt you could make automated buildings, and you would take them to location in a catamaran, because this is the most efficient way to move bulk freight on the water. And it only takes 1 pound of water pressure just to move this up just ever so slightly, and you can push it over a ton of weight. And then you can have your research centers. And this is that canal digger that you saw that Jeff did the animation of. So this particular one can change its shape and morph into different sizes, but this one is the laser one. This one is not the digger, but this, after the digger comes along, then this is laser, and it melts the sand into obsidian, which is really, really hard surface. You don't need people doing a lot of things. We want to get people back to being useful, get them out from behind counters and use their mind, develop their mind, not some senseless selling commodities today. But it's a wasted life, you know. So over here, some of the aircraft that he did. And I want to mention that all these designs, he designed 60, 70, 80 years ago. I mean, he wasn't kidding when he says he's 99 now. So he's almost 100, he's 99 and a half. So he started designing aircraft. And you notice that all his aircraft are real fared. He has hundreds and hundreds of design sketches. And he designed aircraft for Northrop and for the Army. In fact, when he did talk about Tuamotu. When he went to Tuamotu, the island, he really went there to check out to see if people had a particular nature, if there's any such thing as human nature. You know, the way men act toward women, and he decided that there wasn't. You know, it just depends on how you're raised. But he also went there because he felt we were going to be going to war. And he went there and he really loved it. It was a French island. But when Hitler took over France, he had to leave. He told all his friends to meet him there. And these were young kids that he trained as well to be able to design and build a new city. He actually did train them how to do drafting and everything. And so he had to go back home, and then they drafted him. And they put him up for the target. I don't think he was on beyond because he's still getting better and stuff. They put him to the target, and he would shoot way off. You know, he didn't want to be cannon fodder. But they sent him to design and develop it in Wright Field, to develop different things. And they said, can you make a bomb that goes out instead of up? He said, geez, I wish I could. He could, but he wouldn't. Right. You know? He thinks it's terrible that scientists made the atomic bomb. So he said, I can only work on safety devices, and that's what he did. He made hundreds of safety devices. He made the door that comes down on the aircraft that has the stairs in them. He made the skids on the helicopters so you can put the injured people. You know, he just did tons and tons of stuff.
Would you? Yeah, sure. Would you say, because you mentioned before, kind of alluding to the fact that we are kind of called to cooperate, or at least learn to collaborate on a lot of the problems that we've made for ourselves
That's what
over the years. Right.
In the
So,
future.
would you say even now that we have, I guess, technologically surpassed that world of scarcity, and so competition
Absolutely.
itself is kind of phased? It's like useless.
No, we still have competition because we have the monetary system. Everybody's out for themselves. They all have to take care of themselves. We're all vultures after one another. You get a toothache, somebody makes a few
Yeah.
$1,000 off you.
Right,
You
right.
get your car, somebody makes a few $1,000 off that. There's no need for that
So
anymore.
would you say that competition
It's
in our
not
phase of
natural.
evolution, right, it's a phase
not.
that, I see. You
It's
don't
not
even think
natural.
it has.
No, it's generated. You've got your football games, your basketball games. They prime you for war, us against them.
And it's virtually pointless. And
It is.
you think it has been
You've
for
got
a
a
while?
guy with a ball all through evolution. You've got a guy with a ball to put it over a pole. You know, is this where we are? And we pay them the most. You know, it's
Right.
like going, to me, it's like going seeing lions, Christians being fed to lions.
Right,
You know,
right.
that story that Jacque usually
Right.
gives. Yeah. If you don't know that, Jacque always says, in the past, they used to feed Christians to lions. And is that natural? It was to that time. For an example, the whole family would go to see Christians being fed to lions on the holidays, and the little kid would say, Daddy, Daddy, can we come next week? And he said, only if you behave yourself. You know, it was a real treat to go see that. And Christians and lions were looked at with the same disdain. You know, they weren't people. So it's generated. Competition is generated. Envy is generated.
Because there's a lot of people that would say that kind of competition had its purpose within our society, and I mean, I would make the argument full-heartedly that it could have maybe in the past in some facets, but at this point it's virtually pointless and harmful.
I think we
yeah.
could always go further if we collaborate instead
Right,
of
yeah.
pit against each other. Because you, especially in the monetary system, you hold new ideas back. Those who are in positions of power and money, they don't want to see anything competing with that. You know, they have invested billions in the oil rigs and everything else. They do everything they can to stop something new to come in. So this system tries to freeze things as it is. It's an established system, as Jacque says. It's not an emergent one. And what we're posing in is an emergent society where you'd be questioning and changing things all the time to make it better.
Right.
Because all the Earth's resources become the common heritage of all the Earth's people. So, which means you're a stockholder in everything. So you don't want to make things that wear out and break down. Why would you do that?
You don't want people working at movie theaters. You want them researching or studying what they actually want to do in life.
Yeah,
Because it
every
benefits
time
you
you-
as well.
That's right. Every time there are kids that shoot up drugs, that do nothing, that have no place to go, you pay for it. You pay for it in this culture with the police, with the jails, with the judges, with the lawyers, and they don't come out any smarter when they go to jail. You know, they're more
It's a
antisocial.
valuable
smarter
resource
than
that's
that.
lost.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
valuable.
But the entire system is like set up like that
It is.
purposely. So how do you
Yeah,
like these
capitalism.
people who have money and control over things? They like also have, you know, Apache helicopters and
That's
nuclear
right.
bombs. So there's
They're in a position and they're afraid too. They have bars on their windows, they have helicopters to leave as soon as possible. And where are they gonna go, you know?
Very insecure.
There's no place to go anymore. They're pirates at sea and everything else.
right.
But the system's collapsing. It can't withstand itself anymore. And especially with the automation displacing people, people not having jobs. They're beginning to talk about it now. Jacque talked about it in the Great Depression.
So you don't see like mass genocides emerging. Then?
We see a lot of problems ahead because people are not looking for something else. People are not emotionally wise enough or intellectually wise enough to sit back and say, what are the problems and what can we do? This is fought tooth and nail, every inch of the way. So, and everything that we learn, all of our values that we learn are against planned societies. You know, everything. When you talk about human nature, we say that there is an instinct, there isn't an instinct. You know, that people are individualistic. You're taught that you're individualistic, but you're not, because everything you learn comes from your society. It doesn't come from within, it comes from without. Everything is contrary to what you're taught today. Because whatever you're taught today supports this system.
It's like a domestication process.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard for people to break that mold? Because I feel like it was easy for me to
Well, you read
care.
other books, and you saw other things, and you saw other movies, and you put certain things together. But you have to put these ideas into other people's heads, and then nurture it slowly. Otherwise, they'll buck you all along the way. And that's their identity. If you tell them you're a sucker, you've been a sucker all your life, they can't say, oh, okay, thank you, so tell me something new. You have to just gently, and it depends on, like Jacque always says, you ask people questions when you first see them. Who's your favorite author? What's your favorite book? What's your favorite movie? Who do you admire most in all of the world? And they say, One Punch Malone, he knocked somebody out in one punch. Get off of it. That's a 20-year project. You don't even want to take it on. But there are people who are hungry for new ideas and really disillusioned with what's going on. And they're beginning to talk about it now. But they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. And people are beginning to say, oh, we need love and peace and harmony and no war, and the 1% has everything. That's true. What are you going to do about it? And to me, I haven't seen anybody work on what do you do about it in every single aspect of society and put it to test other than Jacque, and came out with a viable solution to work toward. It's not, it will always change and get better. There's no utopia. That's not the fixed thing, but it's something that would help everybody.
But many of these are just simple alternatives to the.
It is simple when you think of it all.
The system is this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what we have today. And then some people say, well, this is a dream, you'll never see that, that's utopia. To me, it's a utopia thinking that this system is going to get us anywhere. That's a dream, thinking that sticking with this system, it's going to bring you death. It is already. But anyway, get back to this quickly. Jacque was influenced by sharks a lot in design, and they were very fair, and that's very aerodynamic, and they lasted a long time in their environment. But you'll see that Jacque did a lot of flying wings, because this is all dead weight. This is the fuselage where you sit, and it's all dead weight. The only lift is the wing. So Jacque always did a lot of flying wings. He just made one big wing, put the passengers inside of it, and then the whole airplane is lift service, and it's much more efficient. So he was drawing flying wings when he was a little kid. But anyway, this is his helicopter. If he went to aeronautical engineering school, the helicopters would look like everybody else's helicopters. But the jets are on the outside, and I'm sure you'll see this in a few years, because everything that Jacque showed me, when I knew him 40 years, I've known him about 40 years, and he had sketches all the time. And they would come out on the cover of Popular Science and Popular Mechanics, and people would come out labs saying, this is a new thing, and we're inventing it, and we're patenting it, and Jacque was a forerunner and all that. No, it's very expensive to do patents. But anyway, so this is a helicopter. The middle stays stationary, and the blades go around. And this is another helicopter where the jets are on the outside. And this one spins, and then it locks into place, and then it goes forward, like a delta wing. That's a delta wing. But I'll show you some more stuff. All these models, these took many, many, many years to do. They're real laborious. And Jacque always did a lot of automated systems, because he filmed all these too. But the old film is such crappy film that when we're putting it in our documentary, we have to shrink it down to like 1/6 of the frame, instead of, because we don't have HD. So that's how we're using some of his old footage. It was great. I didn't mention that Jacque used to do special effects for Hollywood. He won lots of awards for the special effects that he did for the movies. He used to work with drug addicts and alcoholics and change them. He didn't care if they got off drugs or alcohol. He wanted to give them like a social conscience and have them do something better for the world. And that's what he did when he got kids off of drugs and people off of drugs. And he did automobiles. He used to do boats that won races. He didn't care about that. He just did that for money to go back in his lab and work on things that people had no idea what he was working on. Then he'd go broke, and then he'd have to sell off everything in the lab. He was a terrible businessman because he would take his last $50 and try and work out. He did hundreds and hundreds of medical devices. He worked on the first hip prosthesis and knee prosthesis. He was working on that when I met him. Had hundreds of different medical devices. But I don't know what he didn't work on. He did the first prefabricated aluminum home after World War II because he had backers for that. He was trying to do a dome and that was too far out. So he did an aluminum home so the aircraft industries wouldn't go out of business. He felt they wouldn't have orders and he wanted to do an aluminum home. It was a disaster. So many things he did was a disaster. So many inventors, they say that the free enterprise system, it gives you incentive for design and creativity. It does not. You have to have money to invent, you have to have money to patent, you have to have money to do tools and dyes to make mass production in large quantities. You have to have money for lawyers to protect yourself. And even if you come out with something and somebody copies it, that's what they did when they first came out with a ballpoint pen. They had so many people copy it, even though they had a patent, it just didn't make any difference. You know, that happens all the time. Now it's China, so I mean, that's all right.